During the National Day holiday, my wife insisted on bringing her white moonlight along. Unexpectedly, they flirted in the car, causing it to lose control, flip over, and explode into flames. In that critical moment, my wife stopped the passing rescuer, pointing at her white moonlight, who had only suffered a scratch, and pleaded, "He's injured, save him first." She left with her white moonlight, while I nearly died from severe injuries. The next day, when I woke up from surgery, I immediately heard her angrily scolding me. "Do you still look down on Chinyu, so you deliberately had the driver crash into the mountain, trying to kill us?" I remained silent. Her white moonlight. Chinyu cried and apologized. "Brother Xian, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have saved money by having them take me along. It's okay if I'm hurt. But Ye is your wife after all." I watched his performance silently. Fu Riyue, feeling sorry for him, pulled him into a comforting embrace and coldly warned me that if I made any more trouble, she would divorce me. Later, I finally agreed to the divorce, choosing to fulfill their wishes. This wife, who never valued me, went crazy with regret afterwards. I am a live-in son-in-law of the Fu family. I was only chosen because I am handsome, fertile, and I happen to have saved old man Fu. For so many years, my wife, Fu Riyue, has never agreed to share a bed with me. Even our child was conceived through artificial insemination, all because she has a low-born white moonlight in her heart. This year during the National Day holiday, old man Fu ordered her to travel with me to improve our relationship. Unexpectedly, Fu Riyue concealed it from old man Fu and also brought her white moonlight into the car. Unexpectedly, the two of them flirted in the car. In their amorous state, they bumped the driver, causing the car to lose control, overturn, and catch fire, killing the driver on the spot. I almost died as well, but Fu Riyue left with her white moonlight, carefree. The next day, when I woke up from anesthesia, Fu Riyue's gorgeous face appeared before me. Her eyes held no emotion, and her fiery red lips were restrained to the extreme, as if she wanted to devour me whole. Upon seeing me awake, she pointed at my nose and questioned, "Do you still look down on Chinyu, so you deliberately had the driver crash into the mountain, trying to kill us?" Before I could react, I heard her white moonlight crying as he apologized. "Brother Xian, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have saved money by having them take me along. It's okay if I'm hurt. But Ye is your wife after all." Chinyu was young-looking and fair-skinned, truly a master of green tea tactics. I smiled coldly and looked at Fu Riyue. "Are you so certain that I harmed you? Uncle Fu has driven for our family for his whole life, and he has never had an accident. The first time Chinyu rides, something like this happens. Who would believe it's not related to you? You have problems with your legs, and you want Chinyu to be disabled with you?" Hearing this, my heart turned ice cold. Years ago, when I saved her father, my legs became less agile than normal. Now this car accident was the last straw. Furthermore, she had been in the ward for so long and hadn't noticed the blood flowing from my wounds, nor had she asked about my physical condition. I was stunned, contemplating the meaning of these 8 years of marriage. Seeing that I didn't respond, Fu Riyue lost interest in insulting me. She grabbed her white moonlight's hand, left me with the words that if I made any more trouble she would divorce me, and turned away without looking back. 2 minutes later, her voice message came. "For the sake of Chinyu pleading for you, I forgive you. Don't do it again." I didn't reply. She sent another message. "My parents like you very much. I don't want to fight with you, and I definitely don't want you to treat Chinyu as your enemy." Hearing her voice messages, my heart felt even more desolate. The doctor who came for rounds was my friend. Hearing what she said, he frowned impatiently. "Is Fu Riyue crazy? She doesn't care that you've had a car accident, and on top of that, she says these disgusting things to you. Does she think you aren't hurt enough? Does she even know what you've given up for her?" Over the years, my friend was the only one who knew everything about me and Fu Riyue. Seeing that my 8 years of effort had not been rewarded in any way, he frowned and comforted me. 8 years, Li Xian. Are you really not going to let go? 8 years ago, I had just graduated with my master's degree and was at the peak of my career. Old man Fu found me after the graduation ceremony, hoping that I would become Fu Riyue's husband. I agreed almost without thinking. It was because I had secretly loved Fu Riyue for 8 years, but she never knew. For Fu Riyue, I gave up a high-paying job to become a full-time husband. I loved her for 8 years without a single response, and in times of crisis, she always thought of her white moonlight. I chuckled mockingly and said nothing more. Silently, I pulled back the covers and went to handle the discharge procedures myself. My emotions had been too turbulent just now, and my original wound had started to reopen a bit. The pain almost made me pass out, but luckily a friend caught me in time, which also suddenly reminded me. There was one promise I hadn't fulfilled yet. Later, can you help me send a taro snowball to the Fu family? For my daughter? And don't say it's from me. I subconsciously instructed my friend. After all, my child seemed to inherently dislike me, her father. She was always a bit resistant to things I gave her, just like her mother. Sigh, you're so humble. You'll regret it one day. My friend nodded helplessly, sighed, and immediately went out to help me. Watching his back disappear, I finally turned on my phone. Fu Ryue had stopped sending me messages, probably assuming I had already calmed down. I saw people on my WeChat moments, traveling all over the world. I suddenly remembered that this vacation we were originally supposed to go to Hong Kong, Disneyland together. But now everything had changed. Scrolling down, there was a new post from Fu Ryue. She and Chunyu had already boarded the plane, and in the photo, she was holding Chunyu's hand with the caption, "After all these years, you're still my greatest preference. Believe me, one day, I'll make you my real husband." Another photo showed the two of them kissing passionately, like a couple eloping. I laughed self-deprecatingly and sent Fu Ryue a message. "I agreed to the divorce you mentioned last time." Fu Ryue didn't reply to my message. Instead, she went crazy having fun for 7 days before coming back. Every day, I would see their updates on social media. They went to the desert, making promises of being together forever in front of countless Buddha statues. They also went to alpine meadows, embracing romantically beneath the sacred snow-capped mountains. All the passion and love that she hadn't given me, Fu Ryue gave to Chinyu. When she returned, Fu Ryue was beaming with a happy smile. Seeing my pale and sickly complexion, she frowned subconsciously, her smile immediately vanishing as she told me to take a bath first. I nodded faintly and walked right past her. When I came out of the bathroom, she was still sitting on the sofa with a few cheap souvenirs on the table. She gestured with her chin. "Here, these are for you. Tomorrow, in front of my dad, to say we bought them while traveling. If you dare reveal anything about Chinyu and me, I absolutely will not let you off." I was too lazy to look at them, simply dried my hair, and replied, "Remember to have someone prepare the divorce agreement. Contact me whenever you're free." Fu Ryue was very busy. She wasn't home for 5 days a week. During this time, she was even more deeply engrossed with Chinyu, so busy that she simply had the housekeeper prepare a random gift for our daughter's birthday. I didn't care about accommodating her on this matter. As long as we could get divorced, anything was fine. Hearing my words, Fu Ryue's face instantly darkened. She violently swept the souvenirs off the table and started berating me. "What nonsense are you spouting again? You knew I loved Chinyu before we got married. Isn't this suffering you forced upon yourself?" "You're right. I forced this suffering upon myself." Before she could continue scolding, I interrupted her. Fu Ryue was stunned for a moment. Perhaps sensing my seriousness, her expression finally softened. "Stop making a scene. Where can you go after leaving me? Besides, you love Qingqing so much. Can you bear to leave her?" Fu Ryue casually picked up a small box and opened it, revealing a wooden plaque with my name carved on it. "I don't want Qingqing either." Before she could continue speaking, I interrupted her. Fu Ryue was stunned for a moment, her eyes suddenly becoming bloodshot. Half a month ago, it was the Fu family banquet. Qingqing didn't see Chinyu at the banquet and kept crying to me over the phone. "Daddy, why didn't you let Uncle Chinyu come and keep me company?" My daughter's childish crying came from the other end of the phone, instantly chilling me to the bone. She hadn't contacted me for a month, and the first thing she asked me about was where her Uncle Chinyu had gone. She was 6 years old this year, and she had never stayed by my side since she was a month old. Fu Ryue also rarely allowed her to interact with me, always having Chinyu handle everything. Fu Ryue was right. Chinyu was more like her mother than I was. In the end, it was only when I promised to buy her a taro snowball that she reluctantly stopped crying. Over the years, I've loved this daughter the most. When I discovered that she also loathed me, just like her mother, I finally couldn't take it anymore. Hearing my words, Fu Ryue's expression turned rather ugly. "I never imagined. Even Qingqing despises you this much. I shouldn't have come back tonight to see your face. You want a divorce, right? Then just wait and see." After scolding me, she flung me away forcefully and stormed out, slamming the door. Looking at the tightly closed door, for the first time, I didn't try to compromise and seek reconciliation. In 8 years of marriage, I was always the one who sought reconciliation after every conflict. But this time, I was truly tired. Fu Ryue didn't come back for several days. On the 4th day, her call came. Fu Ryue seemed not to have calmed down. Her tone was cold and indifferent. "My parents want us to come home for a meal. Get to the Fu family's old residence within half an hour." Before I could say anything, she hung up, helpless. I could only hang up and immediately rush to the Fu family's old residence. When I arrived, I found a picture of a happy family gathering. Chunyu was sitting in the seat that should have been mine, carefully holding Qingqing, who was wiping tears from her eyes and hugging a small toy, obviously enjoying it immensely. And Fu Ryue was bending over, ladling soup, a smile I hadn't seen in a long time gracing her face. Suddenly, I didn't want to go in. They looked like a real family. Young master. That's when the old residence's maid spotted me, and in an instant, everyone's eyes turned to me. Old Master Fu shook his head in resignation, seemingly accepting the scene. I pretended to be relaxed and said with a forced smile, "Isn't there already a son-in-law here? Why call me back?" For a moment, nobody spoke. My eyes met Fu Ryue's. I smiled at her with contempt. "Miss Fu doesn't want a divorce. Did you discover that you've fallen in love with me and can't bear to divorce?" Hearing this, Fu Ryue's brows furrowed deeply. "Can you stop acting like a lunatic?" I retorted without hesitation. "You're the one acting like a lunatic." Fu Ryue was furious and shouted, "If you dare embarrass me today, I dare to divorce you tomorrow. Believe it or not, no need for you to go to any trouble. Let's get divorced today." I took out the divorce agreement and threw it at Fu Ryue. Her face darkened and she said through clenched teeth, "Think carefully. If you get a divorce, I won't give you custody of Qingqing." She knew that in recent years, I was most worried about Qingqing. At this point, she could only threaten me with him. Unfortunately, her plan was in vain. I glanced at Qingqing, who was crying loudly in Xinyu's arms, and for the first time, I felt no guilt towards him. "Whatever. I don't want you or my daughter." As soon as I finished speaking, Fu Ryue flipped the table, and I, in front of them all, chuckled lightly, turned around and left, as calm as if nothing had happened. The events didn't happen all that suddenly. It was just that no one had expected that a person who had always been meek and had loved Fu Ryue and their daughter more than himself would one day want nothing. There was a strange silence in the old residence for a few seconds, until Qingqing belatedly let out a piercing scream. Then old Master Fu finally reacted, rushing over to hug the child and comfort her. He accused me. "What are you doing? Saying those things to a child? Acting like this? You're not fit to be a father." Old Master Fu was trembling with anger, raising his hand to slap me, but I grabbed his hand faster. Looking at him, I said, word by word, "Back then, you told me to marry Fu Ryue, and I married her. I took the child too. But what about you? Did you ever treat me like family? You keep saying you like me. It was just because you wanted me to be your nanny. I gave up my bright future, putting up with your family's anger. Did you think I am some sort of cheap person?" For the first time in 8 years, I rebelled against old Master Fu and Fu Ryue. For a moment, they were speechless. "It's all your fault for pushing me to this point," I said coldly. Finally, everyone was completely silent. With a mocking smile, I said to Fu Ryue, "Since you want to be cheap, then go ahead and continue being cheap. Being with a little gold digger, that's a perfect match for you." After saying that, I didn't care about their pale faces and turned to leave. For 8 years, I had endured a lot. In the end, I was left with nothing. Even my child said she didn't want me. So from now on, I have nothing to miss. I walked out of the Fu family's gate. As I was about to start the car, Fu Ryue chased after me. I steeled my heart and stepped on the gas. This marriage, I truly must end. After returning home, I started packing my luggage. I threw away what needed to be discarded, but some things remained. That made it difficult for me. Among them were some things I had secretly kept, all related to Fu Ryue. Fu Ryue was the first woman who ever made my heart flutter. My family's financial situation wasn't good. You could say it was worlds apart from hers. I had always looked up to her silently, never imagining that such a young lady would ever condescend to interact with me. After I was bullied by my classmates again, Fu Ryue was like a divine soldier who descended from the heavens, driving away those thugs. At that time, I was emaciated and looked like a monkey. She just looked at me with disgust and told me to fight back against them. I carefully hugged my school bag and told her that my family was in debt and that they disliked me, so they bullied me every day. After listening, Fu Ryue frowned her beautiful brows and casually asked, "How much do you owe?" 10,000. TCH, that's just my monthly allowance. I thought it was a lot. Fu Ryue very readily paid off my debt and told me to take care of myself. After that, I fell madly in love with her. I studied hard and always worked part-time during my spare time, winning all sorts of scholarships. I finally saved up 10,000 and gave it to Fu Ryue. I was about to confess my feelings when I found that Xinyu was already by her side. I thought there would be no more interaction between us until I met her father. And then, by some strange twist of fate, I married the woman I loved. Now that I think about it, it was all a doomed relationship. It's better to end it sooner. Those 8 years were, after all, me climbing above my station. It was all wishful thinking on my part. In the end, I couldn't bear to throw them away. I put those things in the most conspicuous place, in the living room. I chose to leave this past to Fu Ryue, letting her decide what to do with it. I pulled my luggage and heavily closed the door of the house. This time, we will completely sever ties. Before leaving to find my friend, I went to the hospital. 2 years ago, I started suffering from depression. After Fu Ryue and Chinyu got together again, it got to the point where I needed to take medication to maintain my mental state. The doctor held the report, and his brows were furrowed as if they could pinch a mosquito to death. Li Xian, your condition is getting worse and worse. Is that so? I think I'm doing quite well. Seeing my negative attitude, the doctor didn't say anything in the end. He just silently wrote me a new prescription. When I went to get my medicine, I ran into the person I least wanted to see. Chinyu was holding medicine in one hand and looking at Fu Ryue's bandaged hand with heartache. He blinked innocently when he saw me. I heard that Fu Ryue had been punished by her father, and her arm was almost broken. These past few days, Chinyu has been taking care of all her needs. The two of them no longer fear the pressure from the Fu family and are living together like a married couple. Fu Ryue also looked grim when she saw me. The arm that wasn't injured was tense until the veins popped. What are you doing at the hospital? Are you here to watch me make a fool of myself? I treated her as if she were air and was about to walk away when she snatched my prescription, opened it, and looked at it. You have a mental problem? Fu Ryue seemed to have found some excuse. She was both excited and heartbroken. So, you want a divorce because you have a mental problem. Seeing that she was about to concoct her own melodrama, I quickly snatched my prescription back. Don't be so conceited. Perhaps my tone was too harsh. Fu Ryue, surprisingly, did not retort. But she looked a bit hurt, looking at me in a wronged way. If Chenyu hadn't been holding her back, it seemed like she really would have rushed over recklessly. I quickened my pace and fled the scene. That night, Fu Ryue called me frantically nonstop. Perhaps she had returned to the house where we lived but couldn't find me. She hung up and called again, hung up and called again until I couldn't bear it anymore and pulled out my phone card. When she couldn't call, Fu Ryue sent me messages on WeChat. What do you mean? Are you determined to get a divorce? Talk. Don't avoid me. When I didn't reply, she became even more anxious, bombarding me with messages. She said that before she mentioned divorce, she had only been saying it out of anger and it didn't count. And that Ching Ching was only being hurtful because she was too unfamiliar with me. I thought about it and just replied with one sentence. These next 3 days, I will be waiting for you at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. After saying that, I sent her a huge red exclamation mark. She was blacklisted by me and no more messages came through. For 2 days straight, I waited for her at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. She waited from sunrise until sunset, but she didn't appear. But it's okay. The one thing I have plenty of now is time. During this time, Fu Ryue didn't contact me at all, but I knew that every day she would appear across from the Civil Affairs Bureau, just sitting in her car watching me. Seeing the familiar license plate number, I glanced at it from afar. Since she wasn't going to come down, I had no choice but to push her a little harder. I started making new friends, in all senses of the word. On the 4th day, I stood with a new girl I met in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Bro, you brought me to the Civil Affairs Bureau. You're not thinking about marrying me, are you? I smiled and replied, don't overthink it. She pouted, constantly complaining to me. Her name is Chung Mi, and she's my boss's daughter. In the days after I proposed the divorce, I had already found a job. My boss's daughter had just graduated from college, so he simply threw her to me to look after. Chung Mi is very clingy, saying she's never met anyone like me and wants to try things out. In less than 2 days, she launched a strong offensive towards me. On this day, I finally agreed to her date invitation, except that I wrote the address as the Civil Affairs Bureau. I didn't say anything else, just glanced at the side of the road not far away. A car had been there with its hazard lights on for 10 minutes. She had taken in all my interactions with Chung Mi. I walked around nearby with Chung Mi again, but Fu Ryue still held back and didn't get out of the car. She's especially good at holding back now. I heard she hasn't been doing well lately either. Her daughter keeps clamoring for a new father, but old man Fu said that she could remarry. But the man couldn't be Chinyu. Fu Ryue was in a bind. She hasn't been home recently, and even Chinyu has come to me asking where Fu Ryue is. No one knows what she's thinking, only that she's like a neurotic, moody, and unpredictable. We just kept at it, until one day, I finally received a WeChat message from Fu Ryue telling me to come out and handle the divorce agreement. The address she chose was a coffee shop, the same place where I first repaid her the money, our first reunion. When I arrived, Fu Ryue was looking at documents. She looked at me several times, signaling me to sit down and wait a moment. About 10 minutes later, she finally hung up the phone. From what she said just now, the person on the other end was probably Chunyu. The two of them must have had some kind of conflict. They sounded hostile. Did you bring the divorce agreement? I also put down my phone and adopted a businesslike tone. Fu Ryue withdrew her gaze and threw a divorce agreement onto the table. I didn't even bother to read it carefully. I just flipped to the last page, ready to sign. Are you in such a hurry? You haven't even looked at the agreement. Aren't you afraid I'll cheat you? I don't seem to have anything worth your cheating. I don't have any property or funds, and I'm returning all of these things to Fu Ryue without any complaints. Fu Ryue didn't speak anymore, but at the moment when I was about to happily sign, she blocked it with her hand. You're in such a hurry to divorce me. Is it because you've fallen for that woman named Chungmi? Her face was a little gloomy. Actually, you had an affair during the marriage too, right? For her, you don't even want your child. I had just caught a glimpse of the corner of the agreement, where it clearly stated that custody of the child belonged to Fu Ryue. As the biological father, I could not visit the child without permission. I didn't care, but there were some things I had to sort out. Do you think everyone is like you, enjoying affairs during marriage? I looked at her mockingly, not giving her any face. You love doing that kind of thing, but I don't. I won't be dominated by so-called instincts. It's shameful to say, but after so many years of marriage, I'm still a virgin. I've only ever loved her in this life. Since she didn't want to share a bed with me, I didn't look for anyone else. Fu Ryue didn't expect that I really hadn't done that kind of thing. After a long time, she gritted her teeth and said, as if bestowing a favor. So you blame me for not wanting to do that kind of thing with you, right? Then let's go to a hotel right now. No need. I decisively rejected her invitation. After all, Fu Ryu no longer aroused my interest. What do you mean? I'm offering myself on a silver platter, and you don't even want it. Fu Ryu became furious with shame and immediately threw all the evidence of how I had loved her over the years back at me. After being my lapdog for so many years, now you can finally get what you want. Why don't you want it? I gave her a fake smile. Fu Ryue, you're making yourself look very cheap. Fu Ryue was arrogant and conceited, and she couldn't stand anyone saying that about her. Just when I thought she would tell me to get lost in a fit of anger, she miraculously held back. She just coldly sneered and tore up the divorce agreement. I have other things to attend to. Let's end it here for today. Anyway, whether we divorce or not, I'm the one who decides. I was silent for a moment, then smiled mockingly. Whatever, I'll file for divorce. Because I've truly had enough of you. Stop. I told you to stop. After being rejected so many times, Fu Ryue finally lost her composure. She had never been so out of control, following me and trying to explain herself. You know other women and found another job, right? You fell in love with her, didn't you? If that wasn't the case, how could you be so heartless as to abandon our daughter? Just as she finished speaking, Chinyu came out from inside, holding Qingqing. Ryue, Qingqing has been crying and looking for you. Please come back. However, Fu Ryue pushed him away, glaring coldly. Get lost. Don't use my daughter as a shield. Chunyu's face turned completely pale. Looking around, he didn't miss the people pointing fingers and gossiping. Ryue, please don't treat me like this, okay? Get lost. Quickly send the child back. Otherwise, don't blame me for exposing what you did a few years ago. Hearing this, Chunyu's face turned even paler. Ryue, please don't tell your dad. I did everything just to be with you. Chunyu put Qingqing down and, disregarding everything else, knelt down and grabbed Fu Ryue. I was stunned, the world spinning around me. 8 years ago, the day before my graduation ceremony, I saved old Master Fu from being hit by a car. That's how he noticed me and chose me as his son-in-law. But for so many years, I never knew that Chunyu was the one who drove the car, trying to hit old Master Fu, just so he could be with Fu Ryue. It turns out that after all these years, I'm still trapped in their web. My legs, which I almost lost twice, were all thanks to Chunyu. I closed my eyes in pain and silently put my phone away. Fortunately, when I was negotiating with Fu Ryue, I recorded everything she said, and the recording had been running ever since. Looking at the two still entangled, I took one last look at Qingqing. I quietly said goodbye and strode away, leaving behind the nightmare of the past few years. After going back home, I sent the recording to old Master Fu. He was furious and immediately sent people to beat Chunyu, almost crippling him before handing him over to the police. At the same time, he ordered Fu Ryue that if she continued to be involved with Chunyu, she would be stripped of her inheritance rights. I was tending to my plants at home when I heard about all of this. I've been working from home these past few days. Chungmi was far too persistent, as if trying to confirm something, and she had been pestering me. But she knew how to get along with people. These past few days, she had maintained a good balance and hadn't made me feel repelled. On the contrary, when I was busy, I would ask her to take care of my plants. As for Fu Ryue, she always sent me some ambiguous messages, which I rejected. I had already begun planning for the divorce proceedings. These past few days, I've been adjusting my mental health issues, and gradually I no longer need to take the medicine prescribed by the doctor to calm down. If I hadn't met Fu Ryue at the entrance when I came back today, I would be even happier. If you don't come back, I might have called the police. Her eyes were red-rimmed. She must not have rested for a long time and had also lost some weight. Fu Ryue, what are you acting so sentimental for? I looked at her mockingly, using the words she once said to me, cutting off all the people I wanted to connect with. Now hearing these words, Fu Ryue's eyes finally reddened. I think she must have tormented herself for a long time. She definitely wouldn't have had an easy time, just like me these past few years, being terrified of losing her, worrying, and being unable to sleep every day. Fu Ryue became anxious, grabbing my hand and anxiously saying, I've thought about it for a long time, and I've realized I can't live without you. I'm sorry for everything these past few days. Let's start over. I promise I won't be so foolish again. She said that she reflected on many things and finally understood why I had wanted a divorce. She had finally realized that she loved me. You don't know, Fu Ryu. I looked around the dilapidated staircase and asked her, do you not recognize where this is? Fu Ryue looked around blankly, and when she saw a certain graffiti on the corner, her eyes instantly turned red. This was where I lived when I was young. Back then, I was being chased by debt collectors, and she suddenly appeared, helped me pay off all the money, and then sat on the broken stairs, constantly comforting me. She said, don't cry, you're a big man, and you can't be so weak. Seeing that I wasn't talking, she picked up a crayon that a child had dropped in the corner and drew a smiley face on the wall. Her youthful smile beamed at me, saying, look, that's better. I finally smiled through my tears. For almost 10 years, I have never forgotten that scene. But now, the smiling girl is gradually turning into a repulsive figure, and no matter how much I deceive myself, I have to admit that everything has changed. Fu Ryue recalled the past, her eyes reddening in silence. I know it's all my fault. Give me one more chance, okay? Li Xian. Just as we were at a standstill, Chengmi suddenly appeared at the turn of the stairs, holding a bouquet of flowers. Brother Xian, why is your ex-wife here again? You're too popular. Chengmi's tone was affectionate as she deliberately bypassed Fu Ryue and came to my side. Before I could speak, Fu Ryue slapped Chengmi in the face. Is it you little bitch, who seduced my husband? Old hag. Who are you calling a little bitch? Watch your mouth. Chengmi wasn't one to back down, and she returned a slap to Fu Ryue. Several neighbors had already heard the noise and stood in their doorways. Seeing that someone was yelling about calling the police, I quickly stopped them. Stop fighting. Looking for an opportunity, I suddenly stood in front of Chengmi. Fu Ryue raised her hand, looking at me in disbelief. You're still protecting her? Yes. I admitted it decisively. The problems between us shouldn't involve others, and even less should hurt others. She gritted her teeth and resentfully lowered her fist. She bent down, picked up the yellowed photo, and left angrily. For several days in a row, Fu Ryue didn't come looking for me. Chengmi stood beside me, giggling, and said that she heard from others that Fu Ryue had used her connections to get Chinyu sentenced to life imprisonment, and that they would never see each other again. The ill-fated relationship between her and Chinyu had lasted for years. She used to be completely submissive to Chinyu's sweet-talking, but she never expected her bedmate to be so vicious, wanting to harm me, and also her own father. Fu Ryue is actually a very kind person, otherwise she wouldn't have saved me before. She's just ruthless towards me now. After waiting for several days, there was finally new information about Fu Ryue. She asked me to come back for dinner today, just her and Qingqing. When I returned to the place we used to share, Qingqing was playing with toys in a sullen mood, while Fu Ryue was busy in the kitchen, wearing an apron. Just looking at the scene, it was the image I had fantasized about a long time ago. But I never expected that when this scene was realized, it would actually be a farewell. Seeing me come over, Fu Ryue put down her apron and called out, gesturing for Qingqing to speak as well. But Qingqing pouted, refusing to say a word. Blood is thicker than water, and although I don't force it, it doesn't mean I won't be sad. Fu Ryue frowned, but at my signal, she closed her mouth and went back to the kitchen to continue cooking. A table full of dishes was quickly cooked, and when Fu Ryue brought them all out, Qingqing still refused to speak. Fu Ryue lost her patience and scolded her. Fu Qingqing, do you have any manners? Is this how you treat your mom and dad? I don't have a dad. Grandma said my dad didn't want me from the moment I was born. She's not my dad. Give me back Uncle Chinyu, I want Uncle. She kept complaining, repeating the thoughts that the Fu family had instilled in her. Ching said that it was me who didn't want her. For so many years, besides her grandparents, only Uncle Chun had been good to her. She even said that Fu Ryue and I were both bad guys, bringing her into the world and then not wanting her. I calmed down for a moment, looked at Ching's crying face, and said calmly, "You're right. Chinyu is indeed your father." Hearing this, Ching stopped crying. Fu Ryue stood up abruptly, looking at me in a flustered panic. "You, how did you know?" I put down my chopsticks. The table full of fragrant and delicious dishes had made me lose all appetite. It wasn't actually hard to guess. Ching didn't look like me. Her eyes were exactly the same as Chunyu's. Besides, back then, Fu Ryue loved Chinyu to death. So how could she be willing to use my sperm for IVF to give birth to my child? I looked at you and said my final explanation to Ching. "I did not want you. If you don't acknowledge me as your father, it doesn't matter because I'm not your father in the first place." After saying that, I turned around and walked out the door. Fu Ryue wanted to chase me, but Song held her back tightly, and she could only watch me walk further and further away. Having finally spoken the last secret, I felt liberated. After all this commotion, Fu Ryue finally knew that my mind was made up. After crying in front of me, she finally agreed to the divorce. At the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, she tearfully shoved the photos into my hands, telling me that no matter what, I had to take them with me and not discard our beautiful memories. In front of her, I pulled out the yellowed piece of paper and read some of the sentences aloud to her. "In this world, the stars shift and the universe changes, but only you have always been this way, and I will love you as I did in the beginning." Just that one sentence made our eyes turn red. How could there be so much love as the beginning? In the end, everyone still couldn't hold on to their original intentions and went their separate ways. I stuffed all the things into the trash can. I don't hate her, because without her, there would be no today for me. But I also can't love her, because all the pain over these years was caused by her. Fu Ryue ran over to try and salvage things like a madwoman, but a gust of wind came and scattered everything. Later, I quit my job and went to another city. This place held too many beautiful or unbearable memories for me. I really couldn't stay here calmly. In the divorce agreement, Fu Ryue gave me quite a bit of property. I used some of that money to hire a specialist to manage it for me, so I wouldn't have to worry about financial matters anymore. When I boarded the plane to another city, I looked at the land beneath my feet and finally felt relaxed. Looking away, I glanced to the side and saw a familiar face. "King Mi." I frowned. "What a coincidence," she exclaimed exaggeratedly, but her expression was somewhat confident, not like a real coincidence at all. Before I could speak, she took out a contract and said, "I've registered my own company right in Jiang City. How about you come and work for me?" Jiang City was the very place I was about to go. I was a little surprised. She leaned in and asked, "I wonder if you still remember, during the national programming competition, you mentored a chubby girl?" I paused for a moment, then nodded. Although I didn't know what that young girl's name was, she was very smart and left a good impression on me. She pointed at herself and said, "That chubby girl is named Chungmi." Seeing my silent expression, she smiled sheepishly. Women change a lot as they grow up, becoming more and more beautiful. She used that to justify herself. I smiled and didn't say anything, letting Chungmi salvage her dignity. I knew she liked me, but I couldn't give her a response right away. "It's okay if you don't respond. I won't be unreasonable like your ex-wife." I couldn't help but smile, looking at her adorable appearance. I just hoped this wasn't a doomed relationship. Later, Chungmi and I went to Disneyland, fulfilling a childhood fairy tale dream of mine. Her company allowed for flexible work hours, and I also used that time to travel throughout the vast land of my country. The scenery I had always wanted to see was now all under my feet, although my legs weren't as nimble anymore because of saving Grandpa Fu in the car accident. But it didn't matter. Now I had rediscovered myself. After returning from another island trip, I took the initiative to propose to Chungmi. She was surprised and very happy. I was also a little nervous. I told her, "I will work hard to become a person worthy of you. I hope you will give me a little more time." She readily agreed, and I gave her my virginity as a gift. That night, Chungmi snuggled in my arms, saying she wanted to travel the world with me. I smiled and kissed her hair. The next day, we embarked on a global journey. From then on, I was no longer restricted. I had set myself free. I went to wherever I wanted to go, with Chungmi and with my most authentic self. The end.